Randy Hickson, and I'm here with Bullybox TV on location in Liverpool. With me today is Mr Happivator, also known as
Titus Fasawe Jr.
Titus.
Yes.
Thank you for being here with us today.
You're very welcome.
Would you just like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, my name is Titus Fasawe, better known as Mr Happivator, because of my ability to be happy and motivational and allow my happiness to become a motivating factor in my everyday. One of the greatest journeys you'll ever go on is finding yourself. Once you find yourself, you're then ready to find what makes you happy. But a lot of people don't see it that way. Being happy to them and being me is about being accepted as being me, but that's outside of you. So you never really know what that requires. It's always coming from someone else's opinion, and you don't know where that opinion's coming from. So it can get more confusing, and you have less control over it, other than you thinking, well, okay, what do I really like?
Titus, you talked a lot about fear.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, what does fear mean to you?
Okay. Fear to me means a level of lack of understanding and protection. It also means, to put it plainly, blindness. Because I believe that true fear will blind you from anything that's really happening, from any positive possibilities or options that you can take. And it can be totally debilitating. And hence, because it's a reality and it will arise, it needs to be approached again. And it comes again back to how much attention you give to it, how you respond to how it makes you feel.
Is it how much attention or the type of attention you give to it?
It'll be both.
Both.
The amount of attention immediately, for example, if we saw the roof start falling in, are we going to sit here and watch it and start thinking, if the whole roof falls in, will we be able to get out? Or are we going to immediately leave the room? What fear makes you do is generally panic. Panic, biologically, takes blood from places where you might need to think, and it tenses the body so that you're ready for flight. And that is confusing things and stopping you from logically looking at the situation and managing it, knowing that you can. The classic example of fear, and I get this from my father all the time, and it's because his approach to life is always something wrong could happen. So let me get ready for that. So yes, I might have got the wonderful job I've always dreamt of getting, but what would happen if all of a sudden they decide not to take me on? And he won't generally appreciate when I say to him, well, I know that if that happens, it's because it wasn't meant to happen. And if I could get that, I'll get another one. So why should I think about something that I don't want to happen? Why should I give my mind attention to something that I know is going to create fear in me? But again, this is me talking from a point where I am listening to myself and knowing there are things I can do to help myself along and to do things to make my life better. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I can't do that because I don't know anyone who could give me a job, or because I have no money, or because I don't have the knowledge to do things that I want to do. And to every negative, there's a positive weighting saying, well, you could meet someone who could help you. You could earn some money. You could learn to do something that you want to do. So while you're wasting this energy fearing what could go wrong, you could be using the energy to find out what you could do to make things go right. Now, sadly, some people have said to me it's because we're all programmed in our younger life to become the person that adults believe if we become that person, we'll be better off in life. And the programming is so complete that for us to change that sometimes isn't even an option. And that, as a father, I know that creates a fear in me that I then suppress by saying, well, I can do what I can. And the first thing I need to do is, in my own mind, in my own words, think of what I would like to happen. Instead of saying, oh, I'm worried my children might grow up and not be able to. Instead say, my children will grow up and be able to do what they want and make permanent positive change in their life and want for nothing. They'll be happy with what they're doing. They won't see their life as restricted in any way. Why? Because they'll look and say, that's how my parents were, so I can be that way. And I guess the only uncontrollable is they might choose to go another way. So how do I stop that becoming a fear and a worry? I can only do what I can do. And at least they won't be making this choice without the knowledge that they don't have to. There is something else. And that, I feel, is probably the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone. That they're making choices thinking that that's it, that's all I can do because of where I come from or because of who I am or who my family are. And that might mean that your trip might take longer or feel harder, but then when you reach your destination it will feel better and produce more energy in you to do more things. So as you can see by now, there's always a way you can balance things, but it's always starting by you actually looking into yourself and thinking, what do I really want? You know, and like I said, the scary bit about bullying is it first pushes a person beyond the stage where they can think clearly, and that's where the need to be able to admit how they feel to somebody so that they can then stand on a platform and move on from there is probably greater than talking about who's bullying you or why do you feel bullied. Just start with, you feel bullied. Okay, realize that that is the best thing you've done. You've accepted it, you've admitted it. Would you like to change it? Yeah? Okay. Again, you've taken another step in the right direction. Just know that you can change it.
Small steps.
Exactly. Lead to great places.
So do you think it's important that people face their fears?
Yes, because otherwise they are there and they'll burn like embers. And every now and then when you're tired or when things go wrong, they'll pucker up and burn like fires. You don't have to term them as fears, because again, the mind, it might seem semantic, but the mind will hear the word fear and say, oh, fear, come on, let's get ready, something's gonna happen. It's like I see mistakes as master teachers, because you're paying attention, you're gonna learn from it. So fear, as they'd say in the village, is just an energy warning you of something. So you don't have to be afraid of it, you can connect to it and say, well, what is this fear? Where's it coming from? And let it be what it is, as opposed to trying to force it out of you. And invariably in humanity, in today's world and probably in past worlds, we have a lot that is involved with not us, but the people around us. From those who we love, our families, to those who we would like to love us. And we tend to control what we do based on what others will think. The problem with that is, just for that reason, you are creating potential fear, you are creating potential weaknesses within your own self, and you could suppress your ability to decide what you do. And then, like I say, whatever you do on one day and then on the next day and then the next day will become part of you, and your own body won't say change. There'll always be something that might happen to give you the opportunity to change, but it depends on the person, because whether we admit it or not, we all do have an individual energy within us.
And fear is one type of energy, and sometimes if we just find ways to transform that energy, we can actually turn what we see as something dangerous into something positive that can actually help us or fuel us in our day-to-day life.
Yes, even just to realise that we know what we're afraid of is a positive thing. And then to be able to act on it, whether it's right, I can never be involved with that. Classic example, I would never be seen to do a bungee jump or jump out of a plane. Even if the plane was crashing, I'd say, well, let's get a little bit lower and then push me out the plane. Because it's just something that I see as, why would you do it?
Yeah.
Now, I would call that a kind of simple fear. And the fear is not so much the bungee jumping or the parachute jumping, it's the fact that in my own head, I know it's something I don't want to do. So if I'm flying through the air, pulling the cord and thinking, oh, you knew it, why did you jump out the plane? I literally at that point would feel more than fear. Because it would be you didn't listen to yourself. You knew you should have listened to yourself. Jumped out of plane. And I'd probably stop trying to pull and say, well, okay, let's meet God. Or whatever happens. But that's it. Just the word fear for me now has less meaning. Because I can battle it by just saying, I'll take action. So, for example, a great fear for me has always been losing a loved one. But a greater fear than that is losing me because of losing a loved one. And my action response to that is, well, when something happens, it happens for a reason. You don't need to find the reason, but you do need to find a way to allow yourself to go on. And sometimes the only way is to go on and not look too deeply into why you're going on or how you're going on, and just start going on. It's as simple as saying, when you fall over, first get up before you think of why did I fall over and how can I prevent that happening again. The act of getting up has started your preventing you falling again. But often we'll sit there and think about, why did I fall over? I knew I shouldn't have stepped there, and I've fallen over again. And that will make it harder to get up. So life in general is about what you think. And once people warm to that, and the first way to do it is to listen to yourself and how you think about things, you'll realize that just in controlling and monitoring and molding your thoughts, you can become stronger within your own self. And I mean stronger within your own self, not stronger when related to other people.
Some people recognise that they are fearful. They might recognise that they're obsessive. And they, on an intellectual level, they might recognise these things. And they might want to change. But when they're actually faced with going through that change, that's when the difficulty starts. So, do you have any tips or any exercises or anything that people can do when they know they want to go through a process of change, and intellectually they know that they're having to overcome some kind of difficulty or problem?
Yes.
Just taking that step is so hard or too hard for them. What can they do to start taking those incremental steps?
Yeah. They have to find the smallest step possible and be ready to praise themselves for taking it. And as I say, the smallest step has already been taken just because you're thinking about change, just because you appreciate that you can benefit from changing. The fear that could stop people changing is because they'll see the whole picture. And fear of the unknown can make you feel like, oh, no, I don't know how it'll be. Will I really be better? At least the way I am, I'm used to it. And, my mother used to say this, better the devil you know. And I'd think, yeah, but Mum, are you really saying it's better to know a devil? And she'd always look at me and say, oh, that's just you. And I've been said, well, I've been told, are you still smiling? And I've said to people, well, what, do you want me to frown? Are you waiting for me to cry? Why would you want me to be that way? And I know that that's just them looking at me and thinking, what could he have to still be smiling about? As opposed to them looking and thinking, I should ask him, why are you still smiling, so that I can do that? But it is definitely about the smaller steps that are really easy to take. Sometimes you have to admit you need help. Now, I'm lucky because I know things that I can't explain in words that came to me from people over the age of 100 who had lived and watched a century change and knew things that didn't come with an explanation. They just came as a statement. And a lot of the time, if you questioned it and tried to look for a reason or an explanation, you weren't going to find one, and they'd literally say to you, you either believe it or you don't. And one of the biggest ones is you'll become what you think about. So think what you want only. Be your own best friend. If you are thinking of making a change, realize that from that point, you deserve to feel happy because of it. But then look at the right. What is this change? Do I really think I'll be happy when I get there? Or am I just changing because I think it should be what I do? Again, it's a very personal thing, and it's why I consider myself to be a guide, not a coach, not a I will tell you what to do, because I am still looking into myself to find what to do and ready to see new options daily. So the other side of making those small steps is to appreciate you can totally change your destination. But the reason for doing it should be your personal choice. Where it comes from, whether it's parents, friends, or something you heard that makes you say, it might be better if I do that. Make your own choice to follow it, and small steps. Asking for help is sometimes the hardest thing for people to do, but it's also the most freeing thing. But help is something that's only useful if it's used by personal action. It can't be something that you then oblige the helper to do for you, because then you're not really using the help. So in wanting to make a change, and I guess the classical change in our situation here is from being bullied and feeling fearful to not being bullied and not being in fear. And notice I haven't yet said, and now you're happy, because that sometimes seems like, well, I can't see the potential of that happening. So start small. You know you don't like feeling bullied. So to get rid of something, to change it, you have to know what it is. So you'd have to ask yourself, why do I feel bullied? What is it that's making me feel in fear? And those are your first small steps in actually finding what it is you want to change. You've started to change. Because before you started doing that, you were just experiencing it, just part of it. What you do from then should always involve, do I need help? Can I get help? And we live in a world today where the internet is a connection to lots of things, and people will go on and search Facebook and Twitter, but you can also search for things like, I need help, I feel bullied, and just see what comes up. And you never know what you'll find. I mean, it's an actual act that you can praise yourself for. You're doing something to stop something in your life that you would rather not have. And all of those small steps will lead somewhere. And the self-praise along the line of each small step will help to motivate you along and keep you going. Now, it's always the truth that the more people you have around you who are supporting, the easier those kind of paths are. But it's also the truth that the reality is, if you want to change, you have to follow the path. So unfortunately sometimes you're doing it alone, or you're doing it alone with support.
It's about taking responsibility for your own life.
Yes, totally.
And talking to people, listening to them, taking on board what they say,
Yes.
and then deciding on your own course of action.
Yes.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you very much for coming along to talk to us.
You're very welcome, Andy. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. This is Dr. Andy Hickson from Bullybox TV with Mr Happivator
Yes.
for Bullybox TV production in Liverpool. Catch us next time.
Be happy, be you.